The capture of Africans was usually much more difficult than this. When the slave trade began, West Africa had a highly developed civilization with complex economic and political institutions. It was because of their sophisticated civilization that they could be used so easily in the rapidly growing economy of America. Generally, the slave trade was carried out in one of three ways. The first and easiest was simply to lie in wait until somebody came by and then capture him. This method soon gave way to an alliance between white slave traders and black African tribal chiefs. The African chief would make war on another tribe for the purpose of capturing as many people as possible. He would turn them over to the white slave traders in exchange for various items the chief wanted: tobacco, guns, ammunition, liquor. This arrangement evolved into a more complicated one in which one African chief would align with another chief who would agree to sell some of his own tribesmen or others he had captured in a battle. He would be paid in goods for these soon to be slaves by the first African chief, who in turn would sell them to a white slave trader. Charles Ball, a slave during the early 19th century, came into contact with many Africans who had been brought to America. His own grandfather had come from Africa, and as a child, Ball heard many stories about Africa from him. In his autobiography, he recorded the story of one slave who was brought from Africa to America. We were alarmed one morning, just at the break of day, by the horrible uproar caused by mingled shouts of men and blows given with heavy sticks upon large wooden drums. The village was surrounded by enemies who attacked us with clubs, long wooden spears, and bows and arrows. After fighting for more than an hour, those who were not fortunate enough to run away were made prisoners. It was not the object of our enemies to kill. They wished to take us alive and sell us as slaves. I was knocked down by a heavy blow of a club, and when I recovered from the stupor that followed, I find myself tied fast with the long rope I had bought from the desert. We were immediately led away from this village through the forest and were compelled to travel all day as fast as we could walk. We traveled 3 weeks in the woods, sometimes without any path at all, and arrived one day at a large river with a rapid current. Here we were forced to help our conquerors to roll a great number of dead trees onto the water from a vast pile that had been thrown together by high floods. These trees, being dry and light, floated high out of the water. And when several of them were fastened together with the tough branches of young trees, they formed a raft upon which we all placed ourselves and descended the river for 3 days. When we came in sight of what appeared to me the most wonderful object in the world, this was a large ship at anchor in the river. When our raft came near the ship, the white people, for such they were on board, assisted to take us on the deck, and the logs were suffered to float down the river. I had never seen white people before, and they appeared to me the ugliest creatures in the world. The persons who brought us down the river received payment for us of the people in the ship in various articles, of which I remember that a keg of liquor and some yards of blue and red cotton cloth were the principal. Ball, pages 158 to 159. Once on board, the slaves were taken below the deck and chained together in what was called the slave galley. It was here that they were kept throughout the long voyage from Africa to America. And it was here that millions died from the conditions on board the ship. He, the ship's doctor, made the most of the room and wedged them in, They had not so much room as a man in his coffin, either in length or breadth. It was impossible for them to turn or shift with any degree of ease. He had often occasion to go from one side of their room to the other, in which case he always took off his shoes